Tim Walz is wonderful. And she had many good choices among the 6 and certainly among the 2. I'm a big fan of Governor Shapiro. Tim Walz, I know very well. He served in the House. To characterize him as left is so unreal. It's just not what the question. He's right down the middle. He's a heartland of America Democrat.
Flashback.
But we can get out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
Should Minnesota be a sanctuary state?
If the definition of that is that the federal government enforces immigration law and local law enforcement enforces local law, then yes.
Should cities be allowed to be sanctuary cities?
Yes.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Yeah, so we got to follow up on the bombshell news of the day, which is that Kamala Harris has decided to double and triple down on the insanity wing of the Democrat Party by picking a far left progressive to be her vice presidential running mate. Governor Tim Walz from Minnesota. Now, she had the opportunity to pick a so-called moderate Democrat, which basically means very liberal Democrat, in Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania. Except there's one problem with Josh Shapiro. He's a Jew. And the far left don't like Jews. So Kamala Harris, because, again, she's so online, right, and she is a far leftist herself, she decides that, hey, I'm going to double and triple down on what they want. Apparently, again, the far left is running this country, and she picked a far left governor. Now, again, everybody knows that this is what happened. I mean, even Van Jones on CNN is like, yo, the far left anti-Semitic wing of the Democrat Party is essentially running the show here.
Do you think it was a little risky, though, Van, that she didn't go with Shapiro to kind of lock down Pennsylvania? I mean, yes, David Challenger was saying earlier, just because you pick him as your running mate doesn't mean you automatically win Pennsylvania. But I got to think it would have helped just a little bit.
Hey, listen, the conservatives, the right wing, the Republicans, they were chewing their fingernails down to the knuckle because they were afraid of a Josh Shapiro. They were afraid of a Mark Kelly. They're not as afraid of this new governor because they think they can define him. So here's the challenge you've got in this party. And you know, people don't want to talk about it. We got to talk about it. On the one hand, you have a lot of young people who are concerned about Gaza. You have a lot of Muslims and Arabs and others. They have not felt seen by the Biden administration. You start hearing that genocide joke. That was building. And so those folks needed to have a candidate that they could feel comfortable with. This helps them in that regard. But you also have anti-Semitism that has gotten marbled into this party. You can be for the Palestinians without being an anti-Jewish bigot, but there are some anti-Jewish bigots out there. And there's some disquiet now, and there has to be. How much of what just happened is caving into some of these darker parts in the party? So that's going to have to get worked out. It's going to have to get talked through.
Yeah, so I want you guys to understand. I don't think that it would be correct to say that conservatives were afraid of Josh Shapiro. But I do think it would be correct to say that I personally believe that Josh Shapiro would have given Kamala Harris the best chance. Okay, I think it would have locked up Pennsylvania for her. That has the most electoral votes. Okay, is in the Midwest. You get one of the Rust Belt states kind of automatically. You only got to win 2 more, or maybe you win another one, and then who knows? I think Josh Shapiro probably could be a good asset to help Kamala Harris in a state like Georgia or even Arizona or Nevada, because he is definitely more moderate than Tim Walz, and he's more moderate than Kamala Harris. Okay, it would have shown that, okay, well, the Democrats recognize that the far left is an issue, right? But that's not what happened. The exact opposite happened, okay? The exact opposite. Kamala Harris decided to double and triple down on Tim Walz, somebody that I do not think is actually going to help Kamala Harris in these Rust Belt states that she's trying to get, which is why she picked him. I don't think he's going to be that much of an asset, to be quite honest with you.
He used to be what I'd call a middle-of-the-road Democrat. Now he's a straight-up socialist.
Hennepin County, Minneapolis here. Walz ran up huge numbers. Biden ran up huge numbers. Now go into greater Minnesota. Let's take a look at, like, Stearns County here. Look, Walz lost this by 23 points. What did Biden lose it by? 23 points. And this is the kind of county, by the way, in Minnesota and across the Midwest here, the Democrats are hoping Walz will help them with. Because, look, let's go back in time here. Once upon a time, just a dozen years ago, Democrats weren't winning a county like this. But look, Barack Obama was able to get 43% of the vote here, basically run just over 10 points behind Mitt Romney. Obama was able to do that in a county like Stearns, and he was able to do that in counties like this all over the Midwest, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. You see that fell off the cliff for Democrats with Clinton, with Biden, and there's Walz, his tally in this county right between where Biden and Clinton's was. So the Walz victory in 2022 looks like what is now a standard Democratic victory in Minnesota. Heavy reliance on the Twin Cities metro area and taking big losses in greater Minnesota. The Democrats' hope is that he's going to appeal to these blue-collar areas in these other 3 states. Maybe he will, but when you look at what he's done in Minnesota, you don't quite see that. Where, Democrats, if you're thinking he's going to help you with voters you're losing in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Michigan, those areas are similar to greater Minnesota, and you just didn't see in 2022 Walz do anything there that Biden wasn't doing himself.
All right, Steve Kornacki, thank you very much for breaking it down for us just like that. And
yeah, so brutal reality check for the Kamala campaign from MSDNC, basically saying, listen, he doesn't really help out in these red areas that Obama did relatively well in for a Democrat. And after Obama, Democrats haven't really performed exceptionally, including Tim Walz. Okay, so this guy is not some superstar who is going to flip the Rust Belt blue by himself. No. He's just a guy from the Rust Belt who has a stereotypical profile that looks like the type of voter that Kamala Harris doesn't really believe she appeals to, okay? But what she doesn't realize is that it's not her looks is what people are turned off by. It's her policies. It is her far left agenda. And for her to pick a far leftist to be on a ticket with her, who's already a far leftist, yeah, I think that this is a fatal blow to her campaign. I really do, okay? But again, Democrats, though, with the help of the liberal media, they're going to try to spin this guy into some type of moderate. As you guys saw at the beginning of this video, Nancy Pelosi on the Morning Joe said that, oh, no, I don't like the way that you guys told the truth, and said that this guy was a progressive, okay? He's actually moderate, okay? You got to get on board with the propaganda, with the agenda. This guy is a moderate, okay? So I guarantee you, Morning Joe will never slip up and say that this guy is a progressive ever again. He will be repeating those talking points because that is what Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats want people to believe about this guy, right? They literally want people to believe that, oh, he's an old white guy. He must not be that radical, even though this guy is radical as hell. Again, this whole ticket, the Kamala Harris ticket right now is officially like the biggest Trojan horse in the history of this country, right? It really is, okay? And it's up to the media to do their damn jobs and to actually ask questions about Kamala Harris's record and this guy's record if they actually want the American people to be informed.
This is a guy who's proposed shipping more manufacturing jobs to China, who wants to make the American people more reliant on garbage energy instead of good American energy, and has proposed defunding the police just as Kamala Harris does. I think it's interesting, actually. They make an interesting tag team because, of course, Tim Walz allowed rioters to burn down Minneapolis in the summer of 2020, and then the few who got caught, Kamala Harris helped bail them out of jail. So it is more instructive for what it says about Kamala Harris that she doesn't care about the border, she doesn't care about crime, she doesn't care about American energy, and most importantly, she doesn't care about the Americans who have been made to suffer under those policies.
Kamala Harris can choose Josh Shapiro.
Well, it's not what I believe. It's what the Democratic leadership has said. Many people said repeatedly that the reason Kamala Harris was going away from the Josh Shapiro selection is because they were worried about anti-Semitism. They were worried about certain voters. They were worried about some of the leaders and the grassroots activists in their party wouldn't take a Jewish nominee. I think it's despicable. I think it's disgusting. But that is right out of the words of many members of the Democratic leadership. And so now we have Tim Walz. But again, most importantly, we have Kamala Harris. Her policies have been a disaster, and they will remain so if the American people give her promotion.
Senator, have you or Governor Walz reached out to one another? I know when you were you're going to debate, you guys have reached out.
I actually, on the way to the flight in Cincinnati, I guess in northern Kentucky, I actually called Tim Walz. I left a voicemail. I didn't get him, but I just said, look, congratulations. Look forward to a robust conversation and enjoy the ride. And maybe he'll call me back. Maybe he won't. Yeah.
Senator, excuse me. Yeah. The Governor and Vice President Harris are expected to take a battleground state tour the next couple of days.
Sure.
Former
President Trump won't be making a public campaign appearance until Friday in Montana. Is that a missed opportunity?
No, look, I think I'm making a number of public appearances over the next few days just to drive home the fact that Kamala Harris's policy have been such a failure for normal Americans. I know the president's very busy over the next few days. One of the things you've got to do is, of course, get out there and speak to people and speak to reporters. A final thing that you have to do, of course, is raise the resources, and I know the president's very busy doing exactly that. So he and I are taking a divide and conquer strategy to this campaign. Sometimes we obviously do events together, but I think we're going to use the fact that we have two people who can both get out there and prosecute a message. We're going to hit the road, but I want to make just one final observation. I know most of you. I like all of you as people, or at least I like the ones of you that I know. I think that you guys have got to do a better job at actually forcing Kamala Harris to answer questions. This is a person who's been the presumptive Democrat nominee for 16 days. She hasn't taken a single real question from a reporter. The American people deserve to get to know the people who want to lead them, and I think it's shameful for Kamala Harris, but increasingly for the media, that she's taking a basement strategy of running from reporters instead of getting in front of them, answering tough questions about her record, and letting the American people know who she is. President Trump and I take hostile questions. We take non-hostile questions. We get out there and talk to people because we respect the American people enough to want to persuade them and not to try to run from them. So I think you guys got to do a better job. That's my humble opinion.
Yeah, I like JD Vance, right? I like JD Vance a lot, okay? I know a lot of people are like, oh, JD Vance is weighing down the ticket. Guys, you are buying into the narrative from the media, right? The narrative from the media is that JD Vance is a bad pick, right? But do we know if JD Vance is actually a bad pick yet? No, we don't. Now, that doesn't mean that he was the best pick, because in my opinion, right, for this very situation, this is why I said when the rumors first came out that Kamala Harris could be switched in, I was like, bruh, Trump might have to pick Tulsi. Tulsi would have been the perfect pick for the situation. But I'm cool with JD Vance, because I think the more that people get to know JD Vance, the more that people are going to say, wow, this guy is incredibly smart, right? He's incredibly intelligent. He's well-spoken. He's on top of his stuff. And he does represent the American dream in the sense that he had a great story coming up and he was able to succeed despite the adversity that he faced. I think this story is an amazing story. Okay, and I think that he's doing a hell of a job continuing to hold the media accountable, continuing to attack Kamala Harris, and to stay focused despite the attacks against him. So he is on the attack against Tim Walz. He is doing his rally in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, ahead of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz doing their rally. And of course, he's asked by the media about Tim Walz, and JD Vance is essentially going to go off again.
Calm down. We've got to give the fake news a few questions here. Though I'm sure we have hopefully a few honest journalists here in the audience. Ma'am. So first of all, the reason I didn't say a whole lot about Tim Walz is because the Democrats have showed a willingness to pull a little switcheroo on us. So I don't even know if we're actually going to get Tim Walz out of this campaign. And I think that a lot of us are asking ourselves, well, it's not going to be official until the Democrats actually nominate him, I guess, at their convention next week. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. We really don't know if this guy is really going to be the pick, because I'm telling you, I personally feel like over the next few days, a lot of the stories and the narrative that's going to come out about this guy, and definitely they're going to make the Democrats start thinking twice about, did we really pick the right person? Again, this guy is as far left as it gets. I really don't understand it. This is the most progressive ticket in history, okay? In history of this country, guys. And we're at a point in history where we can clearly see that radical progressivism is the downfall of this country, right? I'm hoping that the so-called moderates, okay, the independents who are supposed to be in the middle, can see that Kamala Harris picking Tim Walz is her doubling and tripling down on the insanity that has caused chaos and destruction in this country in the first place. I'm really hoping that these people who are undecided can see it, okay? Finally, I'm not sure exactly what else needs to be said, okay, or revealed for you to see that if you vote for Kamala Harris, a vote for her, again, is a vote for radical progressivism, okay? And again, that is terrible for this country. So I don't know, man. I personally think that we really lucked out with this decision from Kamala Harris. I'm just hoping that they don't realize that they made a bad pick until it's too late.
That's the first reason. The second reason is, look, Tim Walz's record is a joke. He's been one of the most far-left radicals in the entire United States government at any level. But I think that what Tim Walz's selection says is that Kamala Harris has bent the knee to the far left of her party, which is what she always does. Kamala Harris listened to the Hamas wing of the party. She selected Tim Walz, a guy who wants to ship more manufacturing jobs to China, who wants to give illegal aliens driver's license, and who wants to make the fentanyl crisis that we just heard about so much worse because he refuses to do his job and actually make it easier for American citizens and not illegal aliens to live a good life. So I think what it says is that Kamala Harris is running as a San Francisco liberal. She is governed as a San Francisco liberal, and she's chosen a running mate who will be a San Francisco-style liberal.
They need to change the word liberal to leftist, right? Leftist, okay? That's the word that they need to be using. San Francisco liberal doesn't hit hard enough. San Francisco leftist is more accurate, okay? That is my only criticism here of JD Vance, is that you got to start using language that really describes these individuals more accurately. And again, I think leftist is the term that you are looking for, because these people are insane, right? They really are. They're lunatics, right? I mean, we actually have two socialists, right? Like this is not like, oh, like Obama type socialist. No. We're talking about like an actual socialist, right? Like these people are socialists. This is what we're running against here.
The last thing that I'll say about Tim Walz is, to her credit, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz do make an interesting team, because if we remember the rioting in the summer of 2020, Tim Walz was the guy who let rioters burn down Minneapolis, and then Kamala Harris was the one who bailed the rioters out of jail. So there's an interesting team in that sense.
Wow. Well, JD Vance is already on the attack. He already has his talking points. I think that these points are effective. I think the question is whether or not the media actually gives a damn to have this conversation, right? Do they want to have the policy debate? Do they want to actually talk about this radical far left socialist ticket that the Democrats have put up? Or do they want to continue to do a disservice to the American people by keeping them ignorant? Because that is the strategy here, guys, right? The strategy from the media and from the Democrats is to create a contrast between Trump, somebody that everybody knows, right? Everybody knows Trump, okay? Versus something that the American people don't know, right? They're trying to make the information around Kamala Harris, the way to define her as fuzzy, right? Like you really can't grasp on to exactly who she is or what she believes, okay? And again, this is what they're going to do with Tim Walz as well, too. They're doing that because they want to make the choice between something you don't know versus something that you do know. This is what they're trying to do. So again, it's going to come down to the media. Are they going to do their damn jobs? I don't expect them to do their damn jobs. And this is why, again, Republicans, every time they're in the media, they have to remind the American people who Kamala Harris is, who her running mate is, and to stick to the policies for the most part, and to question the media about why they are refusing to actually inform the American people about a coup candidate that nobody voted for being on a major party ticket, okay? This is what Republicans have to do, okay? To show the American people that you're being brainwashed, you're being tricked by the media, and this is the truth about Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, okay? These people are Looney Tunes. They are super far left authoritarians. Again, this ticket right here will officially put us in the territory of being just like Europe, and everybody sees what's happening in Europe right now. Everybody sees the downfall of the West happening in real time in Europe. What happens in Europe and Canada tends to precede what happens in the United States, okay? If you want to know the direction that the United States is going in, right, just look at Europe and Canada, okay? With Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, again, we will officially be in that territory in regards to the downfall of this great nation, and it just can't happen, right? We just cannot let that happen. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.